Yeah. See how good my glasses are. Okay. Astral projection, also known as astral travel, is a term used in esotericisms to describe intentional out of body experience, or an OBE, that assumes the existence of that there's a body within the there's an astral body within the human physical body, and this astral body is essentially, some call it your soul, or just the embodiment of oneself, that can that through subconscious or the conscious mind, whichever, can leave the body and go elsewhere, wherever that may be. There, the idea of astral travel is as old as basically time itself, because there are cultures that have done it since as far back as they've recorded. There's vast amounts of recorded documentation of um, astral projection and the soul and the body being two instead of one complete entity. Um, it goes all the way back as far as the earliest noted documentation that they can find was in the 19th century, and it was based on the theosophy, which which is which was actually established in the United States by a Russian philosopher, and it was basically started in the United States, but it was based on practices of the Indian religions of Hinduism and Buddhism. Next one. The first culture that believed in astral projection, which a lot of people have probably heard of, if you've heard of astral projection, is Egypt, where, because a lot of people don't know exactly how the pyramids were created, but through astral projection and kind of people doing that exploration, they've kind of gotten an idea, because usually people have tried, whether or not, and some haven't been successful in taking themselves back to astral projection, basically back in time, to kind of get the answers that they couldn't get on this earthly plane. Next one. Yeah. And then there are other cultures, the Amazon, or Brazil, the Inuit, Hindu, Japanese, Taoist, Christianity, believe it or not, and Judaism. The Amazon, basically in Brazil and like in the Amazonian locations, they believed that the soul could leave the body and basically travel for specific purpose. Like if you needed to for healing, or say you were trying to get answers to something, you could astral project yourself to another place or another time to get the answers that you're seeking. Like such as such as getting the name of like your unborn child. They would be able to astral project themselves to say, maybe not an earthly plane, but maybe the spiritual planes, and speak to the masters or somebody higher up and get answers, and then they would be able to, after they were done with their trance work or their astral projection, they would be able to come back and basically retell what they experienced. And there have been a lot of, I've discovered a lot of different, some of them, it's like Nostradamus, he's done a lot of that. That's a very famous philosopher where he's had a lot of those, and that would be considered a form of astral projection because he projected his own spiritual body elsewhere. And then the Inuit also believed that there were special people, like leaders and such, that they were able to travel to remote places, and then they were able to, basically go places in a spiritual sense and travel forward or backwards in time and get information and then report it back to their leaders and such like that. Next one. This one is probably the most famous of cultures that believe in astral projection. A lot of people, when you think of trance work and such like that, usually people think of the Hindus, and they think of the Indians that have, because they do a lot of work with astral projection. Next one. Don't be too close. I'm also very blind.
Well, if there's any of them you can't read, I can read it, just read off of it for you.
Okay, yeah, that one, because that one's just kind of small.
In Japanese mythology, and Ikiryo, also known as a Shoryo, Saire, or Ikisudama, is a manifestation of the soul of a living person separately from their body. Traditionally, if someone holds a sufficient grudge against another person, it is believed that a part or the whole of their soul can temporarily leave their body and appear before the target of their hate in order to curse or otherwise harm them. Similar to an evil eye, souls are also believed to leave a living body when the body is extremely sick or comatose. Such ikiro are not malevolent.
Basically, yeah. That one's really long. I can't read that one from here. I'll read the top part, but I can't read the second part.
Okay, read what you can read.
Okay. See, I told you I need new glasses. Oh, I can't read it now.
Okay.
Sorry.
Taoist alchemical practice involves creation of an energy body by breathing meditations, drawing energy into a pearl that is then circulated. Zhangzi with a drum as his pillow, fell fast asleep, snoring and motionless. His primordial spirit, however, went straight into the banquet room and said, "My lords, here I am again." When Dweezy walked with the officials to take a look, there really was a Taoist sleeping on the ground and snoring like thunder. Yet inside, in the side room, there was another Taoist beating a Fisher drum and singing Taoist songs. The officials all said, although there are two different people, their faces and clothes are exactly alike. Clearly, he is a divine immortal who can divide his body and appear in several places at once. At that moment, the Taoist in the side room came walking out, and the Taoist sleeping on the ground woke up, and the two merged into one. Now that's cool.
That's how I picked up.
Hold on. Next.
Okay, this one actually surprised me a little bit. This one is Judaism and Christianity. And I actually looked this up in my Bible, and it is legit. It's in the book of Ecclesiastes, and they believed that the subtle body was attached to the physical body by the means of a psychic silver cord. And actually in the book it said, before the silver cord be loosened, or part, or the golden bowl be broken, or the pitcher be shattered of the fountain, or the wheel be broken of the cistern. And then the Apostle Paul also wrote in Corinthians that he also believed in the astral planes. And he wrote, I know a man in Christ who 14 years ago was caught up with the third heaven. Whether it was the body or out of the body, I do not know. Only God knows. Which most Christian scholars try to say, oh, that was probably just a dream, or that was something. They try to give it some man-made manifestation, but really Paul was really referring to the fact that there are really multiple astral planes, and that we have multiple bodies. We have a physical body and the astral body, and that astral body can take us to the multiple planes. And okay, this one's the cool one that I like doing. This one's the out-of-body experiences. What out-of-body experiences are basically what I've been speaking about, is astral projection, but you can do this whether you're awake or if you're asleep. Most often, I've noticed that a lot of people do it when they're sleeping, because that's when the body's at rest, and that's when you're basically shut off to the physical world. It's a lot harder when you're awake, because you have to shut off that I'm in my physical body mentality. And that's rather hard to do when you're awake, because you're aware that you're in your physical body. When you're asleep, all that gets shut off. And so most often I've noticed that when I myself, or anyone that's been told me about it, when you have an OBE, it's usually where you're asleep, and then it's a moment of, you feel like you're floating, where you feel like you're disconnected from your body, but you're still attached in some sort of mannerism. And you feel like you're in a place where you've been there before.
Go ahead, Nikki. Chairs over there. You're good.
Yeah, the camera reach.
Where you feel like you've been there before, but you really don't, but you've never been there in a physical sense. Next one. Okay, this is out-of-body experiences continued. Like I stated, those that experience OBEs sometimes feel like they're feeling like a sense of like spontaneous separation. Like you feel like you've all of a sudden, you're still like, for myself, it usually feels like I'm with my body, but I also know I'm not with my body. It's like you almost have like I said, an out-of-body experience where you feel like you're attached to the world, you know you're in the world, but at the same time you feel like you're also not in the world all at the same time. Next one. And this one, near-death experience. I've actually had this one very recently. My story with near-death experiences is basically where you're like basically you're pretty much at the verge of death, essentially, and you can witness things that can't be really explained in other sensual means. Like for myself, quite recently, when I had one of my surgeries, my grandparents visited me, and because I was absolutely terrified. I'm like, I'm going through all these infections. I've got, 2 stomach infections inside of me. Like, I'm scared shitless. I'm going to die, and like nobody wants to think that, but reality is that was kind of what I was faced with. And, my grandparents were there, and I was like, okay, wait a minute, you're dead. Like, that was my thought process. I was like, you're dead. Why are you standing in front of me? Because I'm not dead that I know of. And so I was just like, what do I do? And then they're like, and then basically they were just kind of like, you're not done yet. Don't think you're done yet. You've still got a lot more work to do. And I'm like, okay, what is that work? I'm like, we can't tell you that. I'm like, that's not fair. Like, you're gonna tell me I got more work to do, but you're not gonna tell me what it is. Like, it's like telling me I gotta go to school, but not giving me a handbook. Like, so that's being able to have, that's basically what a near-death experience is where you feel, where it's like having that moment where like I was kind of like, I knew I was outside of my body, but I was kind of like still in my body. Like I knew I was like, I was like, okay, this is weird. Like I was literally floating above myself, and I'm like, that's me. This is me. Why are there 2 of me's? Like last time I checked, there's only supposed to be 1. Like 1 + 1 does not equal 2 of me's. Like it didn't make sense. Even in like the subconscious state, I still kind of didn't want to rationalize that, because I'm like, that's just not how science works in my head. It should, but it doesn't. And so that was my experience with one of them anyway. Got a lot. With near-death experience was that I had my grandparents come to me, and they were just kind of like, almost like they were pushing me back into my body. They were like, because what had happened right before that, and I didn't know this until after I came out, was that the doctor gave me too much morphine. Because she had miscalculated when I had it the time before that, and she went to go give it to me again, and not realizing that it was too soon, and so my heart stopped. And I didn't know any of this information until my mother told me. And I remember waking up and my mom just going, you kind of died there for a bit. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, cool. And I went back to sleep. I was like, because I didn't really like in the moment, I was just kind of like, I didn't really get the disconnection. I got like, I was so disconnected with the thought process. And I was just kind of, and I remember thinking in my head, when I just remember in that moment, when I was in that moment, I was just kind of like, for some reason, I had that urge to fight. Like, I knew I needed to come back. I didn't know why. I was just kind of like, I was like, they said I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. And I'm damned if I give up now. Because if I give up now, then I'm never going to know what's going to happen, and I'm not no quitter. So I was like, even if it ends right here, right now, I want to know that I tried everything I could to come back and fight my way back. And like I said, when I came to and found out what had actually happened, now I think about it and I go, oh shit, that actually happened. But then I was just kind of like, oh, okay, that was cool. It's like next midlife crisis. Next one. So I just kind of just gave through the whole story time of myself, because I just kind of merged into it because I knew it was the next slide anyway. And then the other one is this one I want John to share, was his story of how he knew about meeting me before we met each other like 5 years in the future.
What was interesting was that it's different than, like, how with lucid dreaming you would see some details, but you wouldn't see exact details. I'm talking. So this was while I was still working at the same job that I was doing for several years, just staying in the area of like the same cities, couple cities, never having gone past like Davie, for example, and seeing the exact roads driving back from Coral Springs, driving back down on Pine Island Road, just keep going back down. And I'm talking the roads that are down by closer to like Tamarack, Margate, and just seeing those exact roads, being nighttime, being on the roadway with very little cars on it, feeling the exact emotions. And then years later, after I meet Kimmy, going down those exact same roads, having that type of emotions and being like, whoa, this was exactly what I experienced those years ago. And it's not like, the way I describe it is that with lucid dreaming, usually it just gives you very little detail to it. And usually you can tell that was just a dream. With that, it felt like reality.
You felt
Like you were in that exact moment. You don't know when that moment was, whether it was in the future or in the past, but you were in that moment.
And I had very similar dreams of him around the same time he was telling me he had the dreams of me. And all I knew in the dream, and I remember waking up, I'm like, I don't know anybody named John. I was like, because they're like, oh yeah, I was like, in the dream, they're like, his name is Jonathan. I'm like, well, I have a cousin named Jonathan. I'm not going to date my cousin. I'm like, this isn't Alabama, so I'm not going to date my cousin. I could not figure this out, but I was like, but they just kept saying, they're like, he starts with the letter J, and then it was like, and then I went to Broward at the time, and I was like, why do I keep going to Davie? Why do I keep going to Davie? I don't know anybody in Davie. Like, and then like, lo and behold, I meet him, and he's like, oh yeah, I live. He told me where he lived, and I was like, I used to go there every day. Like every day, I used to do a work study position in their EMS department, and I used to do it every single day at like 5 a.m. It sucked, but and then and he's just like, do you know where I live? I'm like, of course I know where you live. I used to go there all the time, and I'm like, and I was like, and I kept thinking to myself, like, God, why do I have to keep going here? Why am I keep going back to Davie? I'm like, because even my parents were like, why do you keep going to Davie? There's nobody in Davie that you know. They're like, why did you go to Davie? There's other Broward locations closer to the house. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I just keep going. I was like, because all my classes, just for some weird reason, I always registered for Davie. I'm like, okay. And then I meet him, and I'm like, okay, that's freaky. I'm like, okay, what did you do to the coffee? Because like, that's freaky. And
then
like,
there was the one with the mall.
Oh yeah, that's freaky.
Being at Coral Square Mall. Now, mind you, I've been to Sawgrass, I've been to Pines, been to several other malls, but never to that one. But seeing some of the stores that were in it, that it was beyond strange, especially never being in that mall, never looking up online. It's not like where you'll have dreams where like you've seen a show or something where it's featured, but then being able to give exact details to what was in the malls.
Yeah, I've had dreams before of our future daughter. That's how I know her name's gonna be Amelia. And I know I knew exactly, like I was showing him, like as I was having the dreams, I would write in my notes what I saw in the dream, and I showed him very recently the notes and I showed him the dates that I wrote him, like it was like 6 years ago or something like that. And I showed him the dates, and he's like, whoa, that's my hair color. That's my eye color. And I was like, and I was like, yeah, and for some reason she keeps having problems with dairy issues. And he's like, oh, that's my fault. And like I told to his dad today, he goes, oh yeah, I'm sorry. And did he say that? He goes, I'm sorry, I gave you all my medical issues. And I'm like, that explains so much. Cause like all I kept being told was your daughter's just gonna have stomach issues. And I'm like, and then I meet him and I'm like, dang it. And I was like, and 6 years ago, before I met him and stuff, I just thought these were just dreams. Like you don't really put two and two together because I'm like, I didn't know him. And I just thought, well, maybe I was, because I thought I was just having these dreams of having a kid because I really wanted it. And when you really want something, you'll just dream about it and you can say, oh yeah, that's a premonition or whatever, because you really want it badly. But then it's like, but then it's really just nothing. It's just a dream. And then when I met him and everything just started like going in place, like I'm gonna tell him about the Winnie the Pooh one.
Okay.
The Winnie the Pooh one's freaky. We've been I was told, oh, you're gonna know when you're going to be pregnant soon. And I was like, how? I'm like, how? They're like, you'll see it. And I'm like, how? And they're like, Winnie the Pooh, everywhere. You will barf Winnie the Pooh. And I'm like, and it's funny because we'll go into stores. We'll be like, oh, like the other day we went to Marshall's just because we had 30 minutes to kill before we had to go somewhere. And we walked in there and the first thing we saw was Winnie the Pooh everywhere. We're like, I'm like, that's not funny. That's freaky. I'm like, because like sometimes it's just everywhere we turn, it's just Winnie the Pooh. And I'm just like, okay, this is starting to creep.
And it's not just
out.
like just cups or bowls or like the ramen bowls. We're talking they got the baby blanket. They got
baby blankets.
There's baby blankets. There's the
That's so
little
You can get everything with Winnie the Pooh.
I know,
what
but
do
it's
you
the
call
point
it?
of like, it's like in
yeah.
places
like
like,
the teethers, the cups.
But it's old fashioned. It's not.
Yeah.
That's
You know,
the current thing. It's not
yeah.
really a current thing.
It's not
It's
a current
not.
thing.
It's not
Why do you
even-
keep seeing it?
It's not even like one of the things for Disney's 100th was they're focusing on like the princesses,
Right.
Mickey, Minnie. Like you would expect to see that everywhere, but now
it's Winnie
all
the
of a
Pooh
sudden, Winnie the
everywhere.
Pooh.
And it's like,
Barnes and Noble too with the.
So you
That
say
freaks me out.
Are you ready?
we did that yesterday.
Guys, the thing about Winnie the Pooh though, it just entered common
I know
use.
about that, but I'm talking about like before it entered the
Common use.
common use. It was, and that's the only one that's becoming common use is the original, the one that
The shirtless one.
yeah
Oh yeah. You
Did-
can't.
Yeah,
owns the rights to the other parts.
To the red
yeah.
shirt.
Disney's been fighting to change copyright laws ever since the 90s.
I know, but I'm saying though that like I was seeing Winnie the Pooh even before they made that a thing, because I would turn around and be like, okay, I'm just like, okay, I get it, she's coming. I'm like, but now you're just really teasing me because now it's really annoying. Because it's like we've been trying for like 2.5 years now, and I've been going to doctor's appointments and they're just kind of like, oh, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. We don't know why it's not working. And I'm like, okay. They're like, just give it more time. Just be patient. And I'm like, that's not working for me because I have no patience. And the more you tell me to have patience, the little less patience I get. And so that's kind of where, our version of astral projection and out of body experiences came, was just having these dreams and having these manifestations of Winnie the Pooh just everywhere. Like, I can't even tell you, like I was telling John, I was like, I've got so much Winnie the Pooh that when our child finally gets born, we won't have to buy anything for probably 5 years. Because I kid you not, we found bottles. I found blankets, things that I never thought we would find. Like, we found stuff. Yes, we found the swimsuit. Yes, we even have like a baby one where it's like, it looks like actually like a Halloween outfit, and it says Pooh Bear on the front. And it's just, and I even had someone crochet me a Winnie the Pooh, and it says Amelia on the front, which will be my daughter's name.
All right.
And so I was like, and I stick it there as a way of going, I'm going to manifest this into existence. Buy this doll, buy this Winnie the Pooh, because it's all I got. And even my little brother goes, why do you like Winnie the Pooh so much? He goes, you didn't like Winnie the Pooh up until you met John. And I'm like, I'm not even answering that question. I'm like,
Okay, so what's next?
anyway, yeah. So yeah. And this is wait, I gotta explain first.
Go.
Okay, this is an actual this is the meditation I was referring to. And this will actually be a 10-minute meditation, and where you will actually be able to do your own out-of-body experience on your own.
If you want.
If you want to. If you don't want to, you can keep your eyes open.
Okay.
You can wait. It works.
Oh, it's a video?
Yes, it is. Sure.
Where do I click on?
Click on it.
Make sure you're sharing computer sound so they can hear.
Yeah, it's a video.
Maybe the next slide.
No, that should be the video.
There's nothing to click on to play.
That has to be done when you're sharing it. So you have to unshare it and share it again. Unshare it,
Stop share.
stop share, share it again. Now, down the bottom, it says use computer,
Share
Audio.
sound.
share sound.
Yep.
There you go.
I hope it works. Didn't work last time, so
There we go.
it was working. I know it didn't. So I don't know if it's making any sound. It did have a video. I see what I tried.
Is it an image or a video?
It's an actual video. It's a video file.
Is this the little camera here?
Click forward one more
Yeah.
time, just in case that.
Yeah, that button should start, that looks like a
Yeah.
video button. But it didn't do that.
But it should have like an arrow in the center of it. to click.
Yeah.
It says-
Yeah, or on the bottom.
There's nothing.
Yeah, I see.
Oops.
I'm not sad. I'm very sad.
Let's try again.
I can always.
There it is up there. Well, I had an out of body experience.
Mhm.
I've
We
had-
can share
I've
stories
had
that were
more
so-
than one, but
Mhm.
the last one I had was when I broke my wrist. About 11:45 p.m. Sunday night, April 12th.
2012.
Actually, April 14th, yeah, April 14th, 2012. Smoke alarm goes off. My dog is barking crazy, and the dog is barking. I wake up. Now, I sleep buff. And I get up, Steve is just gone. He didn't budge. And the dog is barking, and I hear the alarm going. I don't smell any smoke, but I'm gonna go and find out what's going on. And as it would be, it's the furthest alarm from my bedroom. I'm traversing through the dark with the dog in between my legs. And it's in the Florida room, and there's no fire, so it's just malfunction. And I'm thinking to myself, as I'm pulling out the chair from the table to climb up on, maybe you should go get the step stool, but I'm already in motion. So now I'm up there, pull it down and get it down, but you have to pull the battery out of it. And I'm standing on the chair, and again, I thought to myself, perhaps you should be on the ground. But again, I'm in motion. I pull the battery goes one way, the smoke alarm goes another way, and I went flying through the air, and I saw myself flying. And it's like you're outside of your body, watching your body do this thing. And when I hit the floor, splat, I have terrazzo.
Oh.
I have terrazzo and I hit the floor, splat. And then because one impact, I came back. And I'm like, holy shit. But yeah, and then the next thing I know, I look up and Steve is standing there. As soon as the battery came out of the alarm, the dog stopped barking. The alarm stops ringing, the dog stops barking. Steve says he heard me fall. He heard the splat. He said it sounded like a piece of steak hit the floor. And I'm on the floor, naked and writhing in the dark. And he says, "What are you doing? What are you doing?
What do you think I'm doing?
I said, "Didn't you hear the alarm?" He goes, "What alarm?" I said, "Didn't you hear the dog barking?" She's not barking now. He said, "Well, why didn't you wake me up?" I'm like,
Why?
Next time. He said, "You realize I would have had to climb on anything to get that."
Oh.
Add insult to injury, right?
Right.
And then by 12:15, 12:30, we were in the ER. A lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Hey, it's a good story to tell later.
Well, I use I call it dream. It's time travel dreaming is what I do, and but I guess that would be a form of astral projection. When I do my shadow work and I find a pocket of angst in my past, a situation that could have been a crossroads, shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? I go to sleep deliberately thinking about the situation as it was. And in my dream, I go back and I change it. I do the other thing. And I have had, it'll be like every night for a couple of weeks, I will enjoy the thing that I changed. And I will love the memory that I'm developing. And I've talked to several people and I was like, and I'd say, well, it really doesn't change anything. And they go, oh no, it changes you because your memories are only what you have put together. It's not the truth. None of your memories are actually the truth.
They're not accurate.
So what difference does it make if you go back and you change those to feel better about yourself?
Right.
Ego booster.
Right, absolutely. And it really does make you a happier person, a less fearful person. And also it teaches you that even making that other choice, I wouldn't change where I am now. It might have been easier getting here, but I still,
I might have regretted a little bit less.
It might have been an easier journey.
It would have been an easier journey, but the destination is just fine. So it's really a great way to heal yourself.
Yeah, I've had dreams like that. Like, I don't know how I do this in my dreams, where I will have these dreams, and then I'll be like, and like I've had dreams where I know when I'm gonna get pregnant, where it's going to happen, and like John's even had these.
Is John gonna be there?
He better be there. I don't have really good questions if he's not.
What if he will be an active participant? Yeah.
I really hope so.
Well, I think this is gonna happen for you because you really are manifesting it in every possible way.
Trying. The rest of me needs to follow suit. But no, like I've had dreams before where I was like, where I've actually were like, and like, I don't know if it's my guides or what, where they know I like to manipulate my dreams to the point where I will try to get answers to things that they're not ready for me to have the answers for yet. Because I'll be like, I remember having a dream where we were at Coral's, me and him, years ago, at Coral Square Mall, and I'm someone's pushing a stroller, and I know that Amelia's in that stroller, and I was just like, wait a minute. I said, I don't want to know anything, just want to see her face. I said, I just want to see her face. And they're like, fine, you get 3 seconds. They're like, and I saw her face, and they're like, okay, you're done now. And then I woke up. It was like almost like a, you got what you wanted, now go away. Because they,
pestering us.
because I've done that, and it's like, because before it was like whenever I would try to do that, where I would want to see something, they'd be like, and they'd make me wake up. It was like they knew I was trying to push the limits, and then they'd be like, you're asking way too much now. They're like, we gave you something, but it's like give them an inch, they want a mile, and I'm like, crap. They're like, we know what you're trying to do here, and we can make it so you can't do it. They're like, can't you just be grateful for what I just gave you? I'm like, no. I'm like, no, because I want this. And I'm like, and in my dream, I'm just kind of like, come on, Kimmy, you can just say it's just be okay with it. And I'm like, well, like in the dream, I'm just kind of like, no, I want this, and you can't stop me because I'm gonna get it unless you wake me up or do something else. And I'm just like, this sucks.
So it doesn't look like your little video.
No, and I'm very sad about this, but I
Do you
do.
Sorry.
do you have? Can you run us through the steps? And,
I don't.
no,
No, because it's really long. It's like 10 minutes. That's why I was like, ugh.
but I mean, like what? Deep breathing exercises, relaxing, meditation.
It's basically it's a form of trance work where the way I do it for myself, I don't do it very long because it feels really weird when I try doing it. Because like once I realize I'm leaving my body, I like panic. I'm like, no, come back.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to die. I was like, I don't want to like let go too fast. 'Cause I'm afraid if I let
You've
go.
had too many close encounters
Yeah.
to do that on purpose.
I know, that's why I'm like, no, because I could. And so basically what I do is I'll go just a little bit, and then I'll just, basically I count backwards from 100. Because I'm like, I tried doing 10, and I'm like, no, that's my attention span is too quick for that. I'm like, I can't do 10 because if I do 10, I'm gonna be like, okay, now let's go 10 more. Let's go 10 more. I'm like, if I do 100, by the time I get halfway there, I'm either going to be there or I'm gonna be asleep. So I'm like, and either outcome's okay with me. I'm like, either way, I'm okay with either. And and then when you do it, and it's like when I did, like I spoke in my last presentation, when I did the past life regression, it's a very similar process. And basically, the visions and the dreams that you have while you're doing it, like I was told by the practitioner that was teaching me, she's like, what you're going to see, you're going to think that you're making it up in your head, or that you're having these false dreams or whatever, that you're just imagining things. And she goes, but when you're in that state, whatever you're seeing is real. It's just you're not used to seeing it because you're experiencing something you're not used to experiencing, so you're going to think, oh, this can't be real. I've had dreams like that before where I've manipulated something in the dream, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm not supposed to be doing this in this dream. And then it's like, and then my brain's just like, okay,
Why not?
I don't know. And like I've done that before. Like something happens in the dream, and I'm like, wait a minute, we're not supposed to be doing this. Like this isn't supposed to happen this way. I'm not supposed to be seeing this. And then my guides are just kind of like, it's okay, you're good, you can see what you're seeing. I'm like, I'm freaking out right now. I'm like internally freaking out right now, and you're just kind of letting me push me. And and so, and that's kind of like, and the best way I find to do that is to just, when you're going to, don't try to do it while you're trying to sleep because you'll fall asleep, but try to do it like right before, like around, like if you go to bed at 9, try it around like 7. That way you're kind of like that way you're not completely wound up, but you're relaxed enough to have that trance-like state. And then, and as you're doing it, you ask your guides or whatever, you just say, show me something. Show me whatever it needs to be seen. I'm looking for this answer. Mine, when I did it, was I wanted to know why my mother and I didn't have the best relationship. And I wanted to try to amend that relationship. And basically said there was no way to amend that. And I was like, crap. And I was like, they're like, there's not really a way to amend that because there's a reason you guys have this animosity towards each other because that's how it was meant to be when you brought yourself here. You know, nothing in this life is done by chance. Everything, especially with astral projections and stuff like that, everything was planned way before you even, like, with me and John. Obviously, it was planned way in advance, which is freaky. And so, and then, like, you know, and he was just, you know, telling me all the stories of, like, he even told me, he told me he had dreams where he goes, I didn't know what my wife looked like. I just know she had long brown hair and that I had a daughter with red hair. You remember you told me? Reddish hair, yeah. And I showed him, I have it in my phone where she's got reddish brown hair, kind of like a mixture of my hair. She's got hazel eyes, and I knew she had stomach issues. And I was like, how do I dream these things? And I'm just like, I don't understand this. Like, I had a dream quite recently. This one actually happened like a couple weeks ago, or maybe a month or so ago. And I had a dream that I was on Facebook in the dream looking up a friend that I hadn't seen since middle school. And then I wound up looking her up, and right before all the hospital stuff happened, we actually got in touch with each other, and she came and visited me at the hospital many times. And I was like, all that manifested just because I had the dream about it.
And you acted on it.
Yeah. And I've learned that because before I used to, like, when I was younger, I'd be like, I had a dream, I'd be like, it's just a dream.
Don't dismiss it.
Exactly. And now every time I'm like, and then every time I have a dream, I don't dismiss it. I actually act on the dream, and I'm like, okay, if it doesn't manifest anything, then it was just a dream. But if it does manifest, then yay.
Yeah.
Let's ask online. Anybody wants to share anything?
Yeah.
Yes.
Anybody online want to share anything?
Yeah, I'm gonna stop the sharing and go big screen.
Yeah.
Go big screen.
Well, I've always had this weird ability to know when my relatives died. When I was in college, like right around Samhain, a little after midnight, I was in my bed and I just started bawling my eyes out for no apparent reason. I didn't know what was going on. Turned out that my grandpa died a few minutes after midnight. Around the same time, I started crying uncontrollably. Other times I've known when people I've known have been hurt, I've like freaked out and started calling. I'm like, who's like,
What happened?
it's got to where I'll call my parents and be like, what happened? Something happened to someone. Just let me know when you guys know what it is so I can stop freaking out.
John and I have that connection. It's like a psychic connection between the two of us, where he'll be texting me halfway through the workday. He goes, I am really anxious and it's not me. You did that the other day, where he was like, why am I so anxious? Remember you did that the other day?
Yeah.
You were texting me, why am I so anxious? Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm like, I'm probably worried about school and it's like driving me up the wall, but other than that, and I keep telling him, like, I've had really bad anxiety lately, and a lot of it is because of school. And I'm like, and I told him, I said, once Monday hits, it'll be much better, because then I know everything that I could have done can't do anymore, because that's when it starts, you know. And I told him, I said, and a lot of my anxiety lately too was over, you know, finances. And then I found out that just as I was worried about all those finances, I wound up getting a grant money, and we wound up getting a grant. I wound up getting money in the bank from my college for $750, and I was like, thank you. And I was like, oh my God. And he kept trying to explain to me, you are anxious about something. And he goes, I can feel it. And he would always tell me, I can feel your anxiety. And I'm like, that drives me crazy, because I'm like, I feel bad, because I'm like, I don't want him to feel my anxiety, but it's just that weird psychic.
That's your connection.
Yeah.
You're a couple.
Yeah.
Oh, anybody else online have any stories?